This is a report taken from Inquisitor Theodore Asimov, Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenus. The analysis of certain Xenus incursions emerging from below the surface in sizable numbers of planets, 25 to be exact, across Ultima Segmentum, has shown a most frightening picture as new information has come to light. Most of these uprisings share common traits, as the planets are all seemingly left abandoned shortly after the incursion. All life on the surface has been destroyed, but any attempts at reclaiming the planets have proven faulty, as the lifespan of any settlers are unnaturally short. No major ruins or buildings remain when these planets are reached again, which is the cause of some concern, as several of these worlds once were grandiose hive worlds. The culprit behind this has been identified due to recent reports and has been classified as the xenospecies Necron. It can be concluded by surviving astropathic messengers. Yet, as more data is gathered, it has become apparent that an alarmingly large number of these events were assumed and are now confirmed to be indeed connected. Several figures of Necrons have been identified on different locations of these uprisings, and while some of them overlap, one of them appears to be the most prominent, a Necron overlord, standing tall and regal above his subjects. Several of these are old incidents from as early as the 34th millennium to the recent ending to the system of Corvus. For the next several thousand years after his first appearance, imperial records only note this overlord's presence in small skirmishes on agri-worlds, though the worlds in question would be rendered sterile soon after, and a symbol matching what the Ordo Xenus presumes to be his dynastic insignia would be burned into the planet's surface, often visible from orbit. Over time, Necron lords and cryptex would appear at his side, and soon encounters with just these lords and cryptex in this overlord's absence would follow the same genocidal pattern. The Necrons conducting these attacks share several aesthetic features, such as characteristic lines drawn from the eyes down to their mouths, giving them the appearance of tear lines, or an unnerving grin when looking directly at their pale death masks. Their gauze weapons are in emerald green, and they all bear red on their bodyworks. This uniform appearance strongly suggests a connection, despite being found spread so far from one another. Their tactics are not nearly as uniform as their appearance. Some assault in endless hordes, others employ trickery and guile. Another report shows of a hive city on Grelter Secundus collapsing into the depths of the earth as the ground underneath it gave away. Another report tells of how the shrine world of Justinian Primaris was assaulted by metallic creatures that accompanied the Necron's main force. Another fell as the command structure of the pleasure world descended into violent rebellion only after being in a state of discord for weeks. It was quieted down and both forces exhausted. The Necron struck. It was suggested that they had manipulated the events the entire time. The difference in tactics vary greatly, but it can only be concluded that they are in fact the same, as all display the same glyph, no matter where they strike. However, where they choose to invade, the outcome is always the same: total eradication of all life and signs of life, a sterile world left by their wake. These shock attacks appear to focus on Imperial supply lines and food sources, famine raging across the northern part of Segmentum Ultramar. Yet, it would seem that another Xenus race, the Eldari, also come into conflict with them, as several battles between them have been recorded. The Ordo Xenus assumes there is some ancient rivalry between them. A squad of Deathwatch Marines once interrogated an Eldari survivor of one of these conflicts and managed to extract one phrase from the prisoner before it expired. The translation goes like this: "It is the fire that leaves no ashes. We will all burn." The latest sighting was on the world of Corvus 4. The Necrons transmitted a message, apparently from their leader. It goes as following: "Behold the might of I, Zcee Nook, the last of the great exterminators, Pharaoh of the Sacarelic dynasty. When this declaration was compared to previous uprisings where associated Necron lords have been detected, the pattern suggests that these slumbering worlds are only momentary resting places. As they stretch from the northern part of the galaxy to the most eastern part of Ultima Segmentum, and a dynasty that size is unlikely as the planets are left shortly after, yet their destination or a real homeworld remains a mystery, but clues exist. References have been revealed through translation by the Mechanicus of an Eldari script to a strange phenomenon known as a traveling world, darkwing black lines between the stars. This potentially indicates a great tomb ship or some other kind of superstructure, as the records recovered from the Corvus hint at the night sky becoming black and devoid of stars, and reports could suggest the appearance of a mysterious glyph in the absence of stars. Astropathic records suggest that it might be the same glyph. Records found of Corvus picked up by a rogue trader seem to suggest that entire planets have vanished, and Imperial records confirm that the Corvus system did indeed contain 4 habitual worlds with an Imperial presence. However, the system is now completely lifeless and barren, with only 3 out of the original 4 Imperial worlds, the records mention, remaining. Its mining world has simply and suddenly vanished, with no debris or other traces remaining, save for some mining equipment, corpses in the thousands, and most mysteriously, the capital spire found floating in the void. All of this was bleached clean of color and life as if exposed to a great fire. This suggests that the Necrons of the Sacarelic have some kind of superstructure that is large enough to house the mass of an entire planet, or that the planet was entirely destroyed. Reports suggest that more worlds have been subjected to this sudden sterilization, mostly agri-worlds and feral worlds, but some hive worlds are also subjected to this fate. Recently, a world thought lost to the Tau suffered a similar fate. The large sermon of a local preacher was transmitted and picked up by Imperial Navy astropath, referring to dark crypts and a necropolis beneath the planet's surface, first believed to be the taint of chaos, yet what the Tau unleashed as they investigated the planet seems to suggest the exact opposite. As of this record, the planet is now barren, with pylons suddenly appearing on the surface where there were clearly none before, bearing the presumed insignia of the Sacarelic dynasty. Attempts at the planet's destruction were made, but Tau fleets had not allowed any investigation to be made. A Forge world had successfully warded off these invaders and had recovered several Necron relics. Yet, despite their best attempts, the undead metal resisted their inspections. Whether the local inquisitorial force called in a psyker or the Mechanicus did so, nobody knows. He was summoned to search what psychic impulses the Xenos artifact might hold. Maybe some impulse left could shine some light on this mysterious force. The efforts concluded that it indeed held some memories from its use, but it was not the wielder's memories. The reports tell of the psyker being carried away, as spasms had seized his body and terrifying cries, phantom pains tore at his soul. Something certainly had gotten to him. When he had recovered, he told stories of what he saw. The memory visibly troubled him, as he seemed distant, being haunted by horrific nightmares. What he told was the tale of death. Deaths of billions of creatures. Psychic memories of entire races recorded in this weapon, but locked away by the old lifeless metal. Thousands of lifetimes of bloodshed, every voice crying out as their final moments came, delivered by this gauntlet. The gauntlet's owner had maybe not troubled mankind, but throughout the time he had gone unrecorded, though it must have set other races to the torch, with each surgical slice of the clawed gauntlet slowly pushing them across the edge of extinction. There were rumors of sudden disappearances of Xenos races, and put into the light of recent events begin to display the terrible implications as the number of these reports has only increased. More days of rest came to the Psyker, and each one tore at him harder than the one before, as the nightmares increased, and he was moved to another facility in orbit, where he began talking again. He would later tell of nightmares of old, great firestorms, eons of war, and the very memory of these revelations drove him further towards despair. For a while, he had only glimpsed parts of the Gauntlet's history. The memories were fragmented and often broken, for he did indeed only see half. He kept mentioning the other Gauntlet. He said there was another one, or that is at least what can be assumed from the recovered notebook. The Gauntlet was studied closer, and not only the Psyker grew weary. The Mechanicus crew had reported mysterious errors, as it would seem their systems began to malfunction. The machine spirits did not approve of this Xenos artifact and wanted it destroyed, but so far they had been unable to do so. Had they but done so sooner, for a week after another Necron invasion came, this one with an overwhelming amount of force, again led by the elusive Zcee Nook, if reports are to be trusted. The planet too shared the fate of the agricultural worlds before it. The Necron assault would destroy the world. The patterns become clear. The notebook had found its way back to the Imperial hands and had not been considered important. It had the detailed records of the Gauntlet, proving that the tech priests were in fact heretics. Yet they were now gone. Yet the most remarkable incident remains a singular person reported to have spoken to the Necron Overlord. It was revealed to be true. It was an old man on the edge of his life, a former planetary defense general called Maxwell. He said that in his other years he had encountered the Sacarelic dynasty on a small world on the fringe of the Imperium. He told stories of their tactics and their strange stratagems, how he had led his forces in a planetary war. He had requested reinforcements, but none came. In the end, he was forced to abandon the planet. Years spent fighting this force, he was no closer to beating it. Mentioning for the first time the Sacarelic dynasty, confirming our suspicions, referring to things such as Foundations, the great factory world of the Sacarelica, the Titan of the Void, the High Chronomancer, the Mad Sister, the Warrior Princess, and the Hand of the Dragon were mentioned. The old commander expired shortly after. The cause cannot be concluded to be entirely natural. It is with some regret that the author of this report has left this world. Thomas Asimov, grandson of Theodore, now rests among the fallen of mankind, and like it, his belongings and files have been sorted through. How this document has reached anyone else is a mystery, as Thomas left a lot more evidence of that he had descended into a headless hunt for false clues. The mystery is no closer to becoming unraveled, as the reports are scattered. Implications are unclear, and the astropathic messengers have proven unreliable. And only with some certainty there might be more evidence of the genocidal crusaders, as confirmation of these dead worlds in fact exists. It can be concluded that the Necron's rising still may have mysteries left for us to discover, for the maddening and strange nature of these beings will prove to elude us yet again. Science known to man is feeble and simple to machines of the past, and the part the Mechanicus knows is woefully hidden, behind their empty gazes, under their red robes and strange apparatus. They know more than they let on. In his final letters, Thomas makes mentions of a mysterious shape stalking him, eyes prying from dark places. He refers to this trespasser walking amongst us, a creature clad in metallic scrolls, ancient beyond nature. The file ends on mentioning how the information he found was laid out for him, how his father and his father before him were guided by this mysterious trespasser. The true intentions of this creature remain a mystery. Yet in this galaxy alone, there are many faces that can be considered exterminator of death. Extinction finally has won.
I read the reports. visited all of the locations. They are the same, only craters and ashes. The scars of combat are washed away, only atomic sterile dust remains. At least the reports are correct. All the systems can be confirmed to be barren, except a few that has tried resettling, with no success. And that is by no accident. Little to no atmosphere, only dry, dull dust. Nothing will ever set root or grow. The seas are dead, closer to acidic than normal. The similarities are too striking to be natural. It's hard to believe that this wasteland was once a paradise world. Yet I have discovered a clue in the notes. An invitation. We will investigate further. What is that? By the Omniscient.